That never happened. You're remembering it wrong. You're being crazy. If you've heard some version of those words over and over from the same person until you actually started keeping receipts to check whether you were losing your mind, then you already know this one from the inside. It has a name. It's called gaslighting, and it is not a normal disagreement about who remembers what. It's a specific tactic with a specific goal to make you stop trusting your own mind so that theirs becomes the only reality in the room. Today we're going to take it apart, how it actually works, why it's so disorienting, and exactly how to hold on to your own reality when someone is trying to edit it. Because that's the whole idea here. Name the tactic and it loses its power. First, one careful note, same as always. I'm not going to help you diagnose anyone. Not everyone who misremembers something is gaslighting you. People genuinely recall things differently all the time with no bad intent. Gaslighting is the pattern. The repeated deliberate denial of your reality to gain control. So we're learning to spot a behavior, not to hang a label on a specific person. Here's where the word even comes from, because it tells you exactly what the tactic is. It's from an old play where a husband slowly dims the gas lamps in the house, and every time his wife notices they're dimmer, he insists she's imagining it. Nothing dramatic, just a small steady drip of "you're wrong about what you're seeing" until she can't trust her own eyes anymore. That's the whole method, not one big lie, 1,000 small denials, until you outsource your sense of what's real to the person doing the denying. So here's the one thing I want you to carry out of this video. The goal of gaslighting isn't to win one argument. It's to make you doubt your own perception permanently, so you'll defer to theirs. Once you see that, the confusing parts make sense. Why it feels less like a fight and more like the floor tilting. Why you walk away foggy instead of angry. Why you've started saying, maybe I'm too sensitive, or maybe I did misremember. Yeah, those aren't your conclusions. They're the product the tactic was manufacturing all along. Let me give you the moves to watch for, because gaslighting has a recognizable shape. The first is flat denial of things you know happened. I never said that. That's not what happened. Said with total confidence, no matter what you both remember, because the confidence is the weapon. They're betting that if they're certain enough, you'll assume they must be right and you must be off. The second is rewriting the story in real time. You bring up how they spoke to you, and suddenly the whole event gets re-narrated. You were the one who overreacted. You started it. You're twisting things. Your memory gets quietly swapped for a version where you're the problem. The third is attacking your perception itself. Not just you're wrong about this, but you're too sensitive, you're paranoid, and you always do this. You're crazy. It's aimed one level deeper, not at the facts, but at your ability to perceive facts at all. That's the tell that separates gaslighting from an ordinary argument. So how do you defend against someone editing your reality? You anchor to a version they can't reach. The first defense is the outside record. This is the single most powerful thing you can do. Keep notes. For yourself, dated, private, save the messages. Because gaslighting works on memory, which is soft and editable, and it completely fails against a written record, which isn't. When the fog rolls in and you start to doubt, you don't have to win the argument in your head. You just check the record. Your past self left you evidence. Trust it over the confident voice in front of you. The second defense is to stop debating your own perception. You do not have to prove to them that you remember correctly. That's the game. And it's rigged, because the whole point is to keep you defending your sanity. So don't. I know what I experienced. Full stop. You're not trying to convince them. You're just refusing to hand over the one thing they're reaching for. They can disagree all day. They can't make you disown your own mind unless you agree to. The third defense is a reality check with someone you trust. Gaslighting needs isolation. It works best when their voice is the only one you hear. So break the seal. Say the confusing thing out loud to a steady friend. Here's what happened, and here's what I'm being told happened. Am I losing it? An outside mind that reflects reality back to you is like opening a window in a room full of that dimmed gaslight. Suddenly you can see again. Now let me be honest with you about the hard part. When you've been on the receiving end of this for a long time, the self-doubt doesn't switch off just because you learned the word. The fog is real, and rebuilding trust in your own perception takes time and usually takes support. Naming it is step one, not the cure. It's the thing that lets you stop gaslighting yourself on their behalf, which is where healing starts. And I have to say the important line plainly. Persistent gaslighting is a recognized feature of emotional abuse. If someone is systematically working to make you distrust your own mind, especially alongside controlling your money, your movements, or who you see, That has crossed a line no video can walk you across, and there is real confidential help. In immediate crisis, call or text 988. To talk it through safely, the National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. Reaching out is not weakness, it's you refusing to be alone with someone else's version of reality. So the next time you hear that never happened, you're imagining it and feel the floor start to tilt. Stop and reach for your anchor. Check the record. Refuse the debate. Call your person. Your memory was never the problem, and this, remember, is education, not therapy, and not a diagnosis of anyone in your life. Just a way to see the tactic for what it is. Next video, the move where they flip the whole thing around and somehow you end up being the villain who has to apologize. It's called Darvo, and it's everywhere. Subscribe so it's there when you need it.